Hello, my name is Allison Batty-Caps of Blossoming Heart Wellness, and today we are going to explore what if the point is not that you are here to transcend being a human being. There are a lot of spiritual traditions out there. Some talk about embodiment, some talk about transcendence. Today we're going to explore the concept of embodiment in a trauma-informed way that bridges spirituality, psychology, and neuroscience. I want to talk about this realization that I have had that has deeply changed how I understand healing, spirituality, trauma, and consciousness. And this realization is, I am not here to transcend being a human being. I am here to remain conscious while I am human. And if this resonates, I invite you to stay tuned. So for a long time, I thought healing meant becoming less affected by life, less reactive, less emotional, less overwhelmed, less impacted by conflict, grief, stress, or pain. And because I was deeply spiritual, I often interpreted emotional flooding or nervous system overwhelm as evidence that I had more healing work to do, more transcendence to achieve, and I was fighting desperately to stay in a transcended state. But recently, after a period of prolonged chronic stress, my nervous system essentially said, I cannot keep functioning this way. And what emerged from that experience was not a loss of my spirituality. It was a deeper understanding of what embodiment truly means. I realized that much of what I had unconsciously called healing was actually a subtle form of self-abandonment, not intentionally, not consciously, but structurally. I had learned how to witness my emotions, how to understand and unpack my trauma, how to analyze my patterns of engagement with the world, how to spiritualize my suffering, and how to hold compassion for others. But I had not fully learned how to let myself be human without feeling shame. And I think many trauma survivors, caregivers, therapists, healers, and deeply spiritual people struggle with this without even realizing that they are. Especially those of us who learned early in our life that our emotions, our needs, our anger, our grief, our overwhelm were too much for other people. So we learned to adapt. We became the calm one, the conscious one, the helper, the people pleaser, the container, the spiritually aware one. And from the outside, it can even look like enlightenment. I had a friend the other day told me that she wondered if I was dissociated or if I was just some enlightened being that had some awareness of what consciousness was that was beyond her grasp. But after I shared with her my current realization, she was like, I finally feel like I can relate to you. Internally, sometimes we are still carrying immense nervous system activation, hypervigilance, emotional suppression, and self-monitoring. From a neuroscience perspective, this makes a lot of sense. When human beings experience chronic stress, which most of us experience this with the way that society is structured, or if we experience developmental trauma, the nervous system adapts for survival. The brain and body become organized around maintaining safety, maintaining connection, preventing rupture, preventing abandonment, preventing chaos. And for some people, this looks like emotional explosiveness. But for others, it looks like extreme self-control and regulation. Both can emerge from nervous system adaptation. And I think it's important because many spiritual communities unconsciously glorify regulated presentation without actually understanding what is happening underneath it. So someone appearing calm does not always mean that they are feeling safe internally. Sometimes it means that they learned that losing composure was dangerous. And this is where spirituality, psychology, and neuroscience deeply intertwine, because true embodiment is not the absence of emotion. It is the capacity to remain connected to awareness while fully inhabiting emotion, not transcending anger, but being conscious within anger, not eliminating grief, but remaining present within grief, not avoiding humanity, but inhabiting humanity without abandoning awarenessness. And I think many ancient contemplative traditions actually understood this far better than some modern spiritual movements do, including popular spiritual traditions and the current New Age movement. Many older traditions did not teach transcendence as escape from humanity. They taught integration. They taught that it was sacred to be inside the body, that consciousness is inside relationship with others, that awareness is inside suffering, that presence is inside limitation. But modern spirituality can sometimes unintentionally or intentionally become hierarchical. People begin dividing themselves into higher consciousness versus lower consciousness, regulated versus deregulated, healed versus unhealed, awake versus asleep. And this can create enormous shame for those people whose nervous systems are carrying trauma, chronic illness, chronic stress, grief, caregiving burdens, financial stress, or relational overwhelm. I'm sure many of you can relate to one of those areas or multiple. I want to say something clearly. Being emotionally activated does not mean that you are spiritually inferior. Having nervous system responses does not mean that you have failed at healing. And being human is not evidence of lower consciousness. In fact, I increasingly believe and experience for myself that the deeper invitation is this: can consciousness remain present while being fully human? Can we stay connected to ourselves even when we are angry, when we are grieving, when we are overwhelmed, when we need support, when we are imperfect? Because embodiment is not about being perfect. It is about being whole. And for me personally, this realization has been profoundly freeing. I no longer want spirituality that requires me to abandon my humanity. I want spirituality that is spacious enough to hold my nervous system, my body, my grief, my boundaries, my anger, my tenderness, my exhaustion, my joy, and my consciousness together. Not split apart, but integrated. And I think many people are quietly longing for this, not transcendence away from human life, but consciousness fully alive within it. All right. I want to thank you for being here with me. And if this message resonated with you, I'd love to hear about your own journey of learning how to remain conscious while being fully human. Please feel free to share in the comments what embodiment looks like for you. Have you struggled with the presence to transcend your humanity instead of compassionately inhabiting it? And if you'd like to continue exploring these themes more deeply, you can read my book, The Divine Within, Healing Ourselves to Heal the World, where I explore the integration of spirituality, psychology, trauma healing, and consciousness in more depth. Or you can visit my website, blossomingheartwellness.com, to learn more about my online course, The Divine Within, Healing Ourselves to Heal the World, and sign up for my newsletter for updates about my upcoming self-love book and companion journal, as well as future courses focused on self-love, nervous system healing, embodiment, and conscious living. My work bridges spirituality, psychology, and neuroscience through practices including meditation, mindfulness, somatic and nervous system work, journaling, creative exercises, and compassionate self-inquiry. And if this video supported you, I invite you to subscribe, like, share, so these conversations can continue reaching people who are longing for a more compassionate, embodied, and non-shaming, non-hierarchical approach to healing and spiritual growth. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being human. Sending you so much love and care.